What if your memory is not failing as much as it is being starved at the wrong moment? What if forgetting a name, walking into a room and losing your thought, or reading the same paragraph 3 times is not always a sign that your brain is broken? And what if one of the fastest ways to wake up your memory center has nothing to do with a pill, a supplement, or another brain training app? I'm Dr. Leana, and today I want to show you a simple trick that researchers are paying very close attention to because it may help older adults think more clearly, remember more easily, and support the part of the brain that often becomes vulnerable with age. But I want to be very clear from the beginning. This is not a cure for dementia. This does not replace medical care. And if your memory loss is sudden, rapidly worsening, interfering with daily life, or comes with confusion, weakness, speech problems, personality changes, or getting lost in familiar places, please speak with a doctor. But for millions of adults over 50, the problem is not always that the brain has permanently lost the information. Sometimes the brain is trying to remember while it is tired, undercirculated, inflamed, poorly slept, stressed, or metabolically sluggish. And that changes everything. Because instead of asking, how do I force my brain to remember harder? The better question may be, how do I put my brain in the right state before I ask it to remember? That is the trick. Move first. Remember second. Not intense exercise. Not exhausting workouts. Not punishing your knees on a treadmill. I'm talking about 10 to 15 minutes of moderate movement before you need your brain to perform. A brisk walk. Marching in place. Easy cycling. Water walking. Gentle dancing. Anything that safely raises your breathing and heart rate just enough to tell your brain, wake up. More blood is coming. More oxygen is coming. We need to pay attention now. And here is why this matters so much after 50. Your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, but it demands a huge share of your blood flow and oxygen. It is like a high-performance engine that cannot store much fuel. It needs a constant supply. And one of the most important areas for memory is called the hippocampus. Think of the hippocampus as your brain's filing clerk. It helps take new information, names, conversations, appointments, where you put your keys, and file it in the right place. But as we age, that filing clerk may be working in a dimmer room. Blood vessels can become stiffer. Blood pressure may become harder to regulate. Insulin resistance can make it harder for brain cells to use fuel efficiently. Poor sleep can leave waste products and stress chemicals hanging around longer than they should. Chronic low-grade inflammation can act like background static in the brain. And this is where many people misunderstand memory loss. They think memory is only about the brain cells. But memory also depends on the blood vessels feeding those cells. It depends on oxygen, glucose control, sleep, stress hormones, inflammation signals, mitochondria, which are the tiny power plants inside your cells, and the strength of the communication lines between brain regions. So when someone says, "I'm just getting old," I want them to pause. Because aging matters, yes, but aging is not the only thing happening. Sometimes the memory system is being forced to operate in a body that has become less efficient at delivering energy to the brain. And movement is one of the quickest signals you can send to change that internal state. Researchers have found that even a single short bout of moderate aerobic exercise can affect blood flow patterns in the aging brain, including the hippocampus, the region deeply involved in memory. And other research has found that regular aerobic exercise is associated with improvements in episodic memory in older adults without dementia. Episodic memory means the kind of memory most people worry about. What did I come into this room to get? What was the name of that person I just met? Did I already take my medicine? Where did I park the car? What did my daughter tell me on the phone yesterday? This is not just trivia. This is independence, confidence, safety, identity. Because when memory starts slipping, many older adults don't just feel forgetful, they feel afraid. They wonder, is this the beginning of something worse? And that fear can create a dangerous cycle. You forget something. You become anxious. Anxiety raises stress hormones. Stress makes attention worse. Poor attention makes encoding worse. Encoding means the brain never properly recorded the information in the first place. Then later you try to retrieve it, but it was never filed clearly. So you think, my memory failed. But the real failure happened earlier, when the brain was distracted, tired, underfueled, or stressed. That is why the timing of this trick is so important. Do not wait until after you forget. Prime the brain before the memory task. Before you sit down to study something important, take a 10-minute walk. Before you go into a doctor's appointment, Walk slowly around the parking area or hallway if it is safe. Before you make important phone calls, march in place for a few minutes. Before you organize medications, read instructions, learn a new device, or try to remember names at a gathering, give your brain a movement signal first. This is not about becoming an athlete. This is about turning on the lights in the filing room. When you move, your heart pumps more blood. Your breathing brings in more oxygen. Blood vessels respond to the increased demand. Chemical messengers shift. The brain becomes more alert. And over time, repeated movement may support healthier blood vessels, better insulin sensitivity, lower chronic inflammation, better sleep, and more resilient brain networks. That is the deeper secret. The fast benefit may be sharper attention and better readiness. The long-term benefit may be a healthier biological environment for memory. And after 50, that environment matters more than most people realize. Because memory problems often do not appear alone. They travel with other silent changes. High blood pressure can damage tiny blood vessels in the brain. Blood sugar swings can make brain energy less stable. Belly fat can release inflammatory signals that act like a low-grade internal fire. Poor sleep can interfere with memory consolidation, which is the process where the brain strengthens and stores what you learned during the day. Hearing loss can make the brain work harder just to decode conversation, leaving less energy for remembering it. Isolation can reduce mental stimulation and emotional engagement. And certain medications can affect attention, alertness, and recall. So when people look for one magic memory pill, they may miss the bigger truth. The brain is not floating separately from the body. The brain is listening to the body all day long. If the body is inflamed, sedentary, poorly slept, stressed, and metabolically stuck, the brain hears that message. But when you move even briefly, you send a different message. You tell the brain resources are available. You tell the blood vessels open up. You tell the muscles, use sugar. You tell the mitochondria, make energy. You tell the nervous system, become alert. And that is why this trick can feel surprisingly powerful. Not because it magically erases disease, but because it changes the conditions under which memory is trying to happen. Now here is the exact way I would suggest doing it safely. Start with what your body can handle. If you have been inactive, do not jump into 15 minutes of brisk walking on day 1. Start with 3 to 5 minutes. Walk around the house. March gently beside a chair. Use a stationary bike at easy pace. Move your arms. Do seated stepping if balance is an issue. The goal is moderate effort. Use the talk test. You should be breathing a little faster, but still able to speak in full sentences. If you cannot talk, it is probably too intense. If you feel chest pain, severe shortness of breath, dizziness, faintness, or unusual pressure in the chest, jaw, back, or arm, stop and seek medical advice. For most people, the sweet spot is simple: 10 to 15 minutes of safe, moderate movement. Then within the next few minutes, do the memory task. Read the important document. Make the appointment call. Practice the name. Review the medication schedule. Learn the new password system. Write the shopping list and repeat it out loud. This is important. Movement primes the brain, but attention files the information. So after you move, do not immediately flood your brain with distractions. Do not walk, then sit down with the television blaring, your phone buzzing, and 3 people talking at once. That is like opening the filing cabinet and throwing papers into the wind. Instead, use the one-task window. After the movement, give your brain one important job. For example, if you need to remember someone's name, say it out loud 3 times and connect it to a visual image. If her name is Rose, picture a rose beside her face. If his name is Mr. Green, picture the color green on his shirt. The brain remembers images and associations better than isolated words. If you need to remember medication, pair it with a routine. Breakfast, toothbrushing, evening tea. Use a pill organizer if appropriate. And never change medication timing without medical guidance. If you need to remember where you put something, slow down for 3 seconds and say it aloud. I am putting my keys in the blue bowl. That may sound too simple, but it gives the brain a stronger recording. Many people do not have a retrieval problem. They have an attention problem at the moment of storage. They put the keys down while thinking about dinner, the phone, the dog, the bill, the appointment, and the ache in their knee. The brain cannot file what the mind never clearly noticed. So here's the formula. Move the body. Narrow the attention. Name the action. Repeat the information. That is the memory trick. And it becomes even more powerful when repeated daily. Now let's talk about expectations. Some people may feel sharper the same day. especially if they are normally sedentary or mentally foggy after sitting for hours. Others may not feel a dramatic change immediately. That does not mean nothing is happening. The brain and blood vessels respond to repeated signals. Just like one healthy meal does not reverse years of metabolic stress, one walk does not rebuild the entire memory system. But one walk can change the next hour, and repeated walks can change the pattern. The CDC recommends that older adults aim for regular weekly activity, including moderate aerobic movement, muscle strengthening activity, and balance work, adjusted for ability and medical safety. That matters because memory protection is not just about the hippocampus. It is also about preventing falls, preserving muscle, improving blood sugar, supporting mood, lowering vascular risk, sleeping better, staying independent. Muscle is not just for strength. Muscle is a metabolic organ. When you contract muscle during walking or cycling, those muscles pull glucose from the bloodstream. That helps reduce the blood sugar traffic jam that can damage blood vessels over time. And your brain depends on those vessels. So the same walk that helps your legs may also help your memory environment. But here is where I want to correct another myth. More is not always better, especially after 60. If you push too hard, become exhausted, trigger pain, or create fear around exercise, you will not stay consistent. And consistency is what the brain responds to. The best exercise for memory is not the most impressive one. It is the one you can repeat safely. A 12-minute walk after breakfast, 10 minutes of marching before reading, a gentle cycle before doing bills, a walk with a friend before a social event, water walking if joints hurt, chair-based movement if balance is poor. The body does not need perfection. It needs a signal. Now, there is another reason this trick works so well in real life. It gives people a sense of control. Memory loss can make people feel powerless, like the brain is slipping away and there is nothing they can do. But when you learn that memory is influenced by blood flow, sleep, stress, inflammation, attention, and movement, the story changes. You stop seeing the brain as a fixed machine. You start seeing it as living tissue, responsive tissue, tissue that listens. And that is hopeful. But hope must be paired with honesty. If memory problems are affecting finances, driving, cooking, medication safety, conversations, or daily independence, do not hide it. Do not dismiss it as just age. Many causes of memory problems deserve evaluation, and some are treatable or manageable. Vitamin B12 deficiency, thyroid problems, depression, sleep apnea, medication side effects, poor hearing, infections, uncontrolled diabetes, high blood pressure, mild cognitive impairment, dementia. The earlier you identify what is going on, the better the plan can be. So use this trick as support, not denial. Use movement to help the brain perform better. But use medical care when memory changes become concerning. Now let me give you the routine I would want you to try. Pick one memory task tomorrow, not 5. 1. Maybe remembering names, reading something important, organizing your day, reviewing your medicine list, learning a new phone feature, preparing for an appointment. Before that task, do 10 minutes of safe movement. Then sit down, remove distractions, and give your brain one clear job. Say the key information out loud. Write it down. Repeat it once. Connect it to an image, a place, or a routine. Then check later and see what happened. Did it feel easier to focus? Did you remember more clearly? Did you feel less foggy? Did you feel more confident? That confidence matters, because the brain performs better when it is not drowning in fear. And this is the part I want you to remember most. The trick is not just walking. The trick is timing. Movement before memory. Because when you move first, you may be giving the aging brain the biological conditions it needs to do its job. You are not yelling at the filing clerk. You are turning on the lights, clearing the desk, opening the windows, and handing over the right papers one at a time. That is how memory works best. Not under pressure, not in panic, not while multitasking, but in a brain that is awake, supplied, focused, and ready. So let's recap. Memory loss after 50 is not always one simple thing. It can be influenced by circulation, blood sugar, inflammation, sleep, stress, medications, hearing, attention, and medical conditions. A simple way to support memory quickly is to do 10 to 15 minutes of moderate, safe movement before an important memory task. After movement, use a focused memory window. One task, less distraction. Say it out loud. Write it down. Connect it to an image or routine. And over time, make movement part of your weekly life, because the same habits that protect the heart often help protect the brain. This does not replace medical evaluation. It does not cure dementia, but it may help many older adults stop fighting their memory and start supporting the biology behind it. Because your brain is not just a storage box. It is living tissue. It needs blood, oxygen, energy, sleep, calm, repetition, and the right signal at the right time. So tomorrow, try this. Move first. Remember second. And pay attention to what changes. If you have ever noticed that your mind feels clearer after walking, tell me in the comments. I want to know whether this happens for you. And if this helped you understand your brain in a new way, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone over 50 who has been quietly worrying about their memory. This is Dr. Leana, and I'll see you in the next video.